Prince Andrew? Once celebrated as a war hero, a dashing bachelor prince, and the Queen's favorite son. Today, he is better known as the disgraced royal at the center of one of the monarchy's darkest chapters. A new biography, The Rise and Fall of the House of York, has peeled back another layer of secrecy. And what it reveals is even more damaging than the scandals we thought we knew. It alleges that Prince Andrew's ties to Jeffrey Epstein began much earlier than the palace has ever admitted, that he accepted questionable financial favors, lived recklessly on the backs of shady benefactors, and engaged in misconduct that the royal family desperately tried to cover up. This is the story of Prince Andrew's downfall. The charm, the scandals, the secrets, and the fractures it has left inside Britain's monarchy. In the early years, Andrew was the Golden Prince. He served bravely as a helicopter pilot in the Falklands War. He earned the nickname Randy Andy in the tabloids. But back then, it was framed as playful, the life of a bachelor prince who knew how to party. To the public, he was exciting, glamorous, and bold. But behind palace walls, there were already warning signs. Andrew developed a taste for extravagance, expensive trips, luxury gifts, and a social circle made up not of diplomats and world leaders, but of businessmen, celebrities, and playboys. The Queen adored her second son, often shielding him from criticism. But inside the royal household, whispers grew louder. Andrew's behavior wasn't just reckless. It was dangerous for the monarchy's reputation. According to The Rise and Fall of the House of York, Andrew's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein began far earlier than we've been led to believe. Officially, palace accounts suggest they became close in the late 1990s. But the book alleges Andrew's ties to Epstein stretch back to the early 1990s, a time when Epstein was already building his empire of influence and abuse. Epstein wasn't just a social contact. He was a financial lifeline. The book claims Andrew leaned on Epstein for introductions to wealthy international figures who could bankroll his lavish lifestyle. Epstein, always eager to collect powerful friends, was more than willing to oblige. We already know the details. The infamous photo of Andrew walking in Central Park with Epstein in 2010, after Epstein had already been convicted as a sex offender. The sleepovers at Epstein's mansions, the flights on private jets, the guest list filled with celebrities and young women. But this new expose paints a darker picture, that Andrew's dependence on Epstein wasn't casual. It was calculated, and it was sustained for years, long before the world caught on. The scandal that ultimately ended Andrew's public career began with one name, Virginia Giuffre. Giuffre alleged that Epstein trafficked her to Andrew when she was just 17. She described in detail being forced to have sex with him on multiple occasions. Andrew denied it all. In that now infamous BBC interview, he claimed he had no recollection of meeting her, despite a photo showing the two of them together, with Ghislaine Maxwell smiling in the background. He even offered bizarre defenses, including the claim that he could not have sweated profusely on the night in question because a medical condition prevented him from sweating. The interview was a disaster, sealing his reputation as arrogant, tone-deaf, and dishonest. In 2022, Andrew quietly settled Giuffre's lawsuit with a multi-million-pound payout. No admission of guilt. No trial, just silence bought at a very high price. But the new book alleges that Virginia Giuffre may not have been the only one. It claims that Andrew's reputation within palace and political circles was long tainted by private whispers, rumors of inappropriate encounters that were never allowed to surface publicly. If true, it suggests that the Virginia Giuffre case was not an isolated scandal, but the one that finally slipped through the cracks of palace protection. The biography doesn't stop with Epstein. It alleges that Andrew accepted suitcases of cash from dubious international contacts, that he leaned on questionable benefactors to cover everything from luxury holidays to private jet travel. Andrew's financial recklessness was not news to those who knew him. He was often described as the least responsible of the Queen's children, spending freely, relying on wealthy friends, and enjoying the perks of royalty without the discipline to sustain them. But what this book claims is even more damning, that Andrew essentially used his royal status as a gateway for others to buy influence, that he blurred the lines between being a prince of the United Kingdom and a middleman for the world's wealthy elite. Inside the royal family, Andrew's behavior created fault lines. King Charles, then Prince Charles, and Prince William are said to have pushed for Andrew's removal from public duties much earlier. They saw him as a liability, a ticking time bomb. But Queen Elizabeth II refused. She adored Andrew. He was her favorite son, a bond that made her blind to his flaws. It wasn't until after the disastrous BBC interview in 2019 that the Queen reluctantly agreed to strip Andrew of his royal duties. But the damage was already done. When Queen Elizabeth died in 2022, Andrew lost his last and greatest shield. Under King Charles, there would be no more cover, no more protection. Andrew was finished. Today, Prince Andrew lives in near exile inside the walls of Royal Lodge. He has no public duties, no official role in the monarchy. His military titles and royal patronages are gone. He is, in every practical sense, a royal in name only. The Exposed concludes that Andrew's return to royal life is impossible. His reputation is too toxic, his scandals too deep. His presence, a reminder of everything the monarchy wants to move past. For the royal family, Andrew is not just a disgraced prince. He is a permanent liability. And his story raises bigger questions about the institution itself. If one of the Queen's own sons could be tied so deeply to corruption, scandal, and abuse, what does that mean for the credibility of the monarchy in the modern world? Prince Andrew's story is not just about one man's downfall. It is about privilege without accountability, power without responsibility, and the limits of palace protection in the face of truth. From war hero to disgraced royal, Andrew's fall is complete, but the shadow he casts still lingers over the House of Windsor. And for a monarchy already struggling to remain relevant, that shadow may prove impossible to escape.